385. Remember this. Remember, on this episode today, Paul Sullivan said it's 3 questions, 8 pillars, 5 steps. That simple.
On today's episode, we have Paul Sullivan of Arise GTM.
Paul tells us his story about how he built Arise GTM, everything it took to get there, his hot takes on the rise of Breeze and AI inside of HubSpot, and his foyer into building apps on the HubSpot ecosystem. All that and more on this episode of the Built Hapily podcast.
This is the Built Hapily podcast, where we dive into building apps, companies, and relationships in the HubSpot ecosystem.
As HubSpot grows, so does the opportunity, and we put you in the room with the people making it all happen.
Mr. Paul Sullivan, Arise GTM. Welcome to the Built Hapily podcast, man. How you feeling today? This evening for you over in the UK.
Thanks. How are you?
Man, dude, we're happy to be alive. We got first world problems. Me and Max wanted to bring you on and finally hear the story because you're being loud and I want to get the truth. I want to know how the hell you came here. I want to just understand the whole game, man. So this is what we're here for. HubSpot is doing some things. Yep. Shout out to those stock prices. Yep. But man, this is something that I've been wanting to talk to you about. Just to give some background of how we came across Mr. Sullivan is the very first time we went to Inbound. I think that was, Max, man, that was probably like 2023, 2022.
25 years ago.
Yeah, back
the
in
very
my day.
First Inbound.
Yep. Back in my day, when it was the day I walked in at the lobby, saw Paul, I'd known him from a little bit from the App Commits doing a couple things. Yep. Already Muggs was rowdy, and it was already rowdy, and I was already ecstatic. I was like, "Yo, he's about to be here." I'm like, "Let's get it." But that was like, and we've been homies ever since. That's how we keep it.
I know. You gotta love a bit of Inbound, right? It just brings the connections.
I know it wasn't AI. It wasn't AI. It wasn't a chatbot. It wasn't a scammer. It was real life, strong. You're taller than me. People don't know. It was like one of those moments. I was like, let's get it. So Paul, what are you doing here, man? What's happening? What are you excited about?
I'm here because you invited me to come and have a chat. So I just want to share the news, right? I think one of the things that's always endeared me to you, Dax, is like your passion for tech and going native. And I mean that in the best way. We're going native on HubSpot. And we want those apps to be using as many of the HubSpot's native features as possible. And I think I've always loved that about you. You're not interested in SaaS connections. It's like, how are we making this tool better? And so I got on your bandwagon. I jumped on your bandwagon with that. And so...
We got seats. We got a 6-seater, 7-seater back here.
Yeah, I know, man. You guys are just like hitting all sorts of places with that. But I think what really came about was this. It's this, baby. That's kind of...
This book is this. Let me just shout out to books real quick and that eternal knowledge, because man, the world is a crazy place and they're trying to put books somewhere they're not supposed to be. So I appreciate that, and I would love to know what. Let me just ask you an overarching question, man. Look, this is the first. We'll start off with this. Obviously, I know where you're at right now. A book that I need to purchase. You need to tell me. I need a link, affiliate link, whatever I can get, so I can buy that. Put some energy your way.
Thank you.
But how did you end up in the HubSpot ecosystem, man, and not slam dunking rugby balls on people's face?
So
let's get the origin story.
Yeah. So do you know what? I got one of those weird stories, right? When I was like young, which is when you were younger, right? I was leaving school and the websites were just becoming a thing. That's how old I am, right? And I remember, do you guys have a careers advisor at school when you're leaving school? They're like, right.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, my great aunt was my careers advisor, right? So I'm like, I think I'm going to go off and do this website thing. It looks great, interesting. I'm into that creative, artistic stuff. She's no, you're not. You're going to follow your mum and dad. You're going into banking, young man. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go and do banking then. And I was like, and I went and done that dreary old career for a while. But listen, I'm going to be quite honest. I've had a career where I've always overachieved, right? So in the UK, we have our A-levels, which is like your high school equivalent before you go off to college and university. And I didn't even finish them. And I just got myself a job at JP Morgan. I was like, and he's like, Paul, I really like your energy, but you're not a grad. And we only do grads. So this is the deal. Come here 3 months. And if in 3 months you prove your worth, I'll hire you. But I like you. So that's what it is. Month later, Paul, here's your job. Here's your contract. I'm on a ton of money. While all my friends are doing they're menial jobs. I mean, menial in terms of salary, not like necessarily menial. They're running on the floor for this trade or whatever, but they're on like 18 grand a year. I was well clear. So I'm like, cool. Start that. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. I went back and forth for a little while. And then I started, but I've always been into the tech. So like I started getting involved in projects, changed the bank. That wanted me, then I wanted to do fintech. So I'm at UBS by this point, I'm mid-20s, and they're like, Paul, you cannot go and work and change the bank. I said, why can't I go and work and change the bank? And they said, Paul, you don't have an IT degree. I said, bro, I don't have a degree and I'm running a swaps desk in this company. So what's the difference? You keep getting me to do these projects and then when I want to go there, you're saying no. So I said, listen, I'm going to leave. And they said, no, you're not. And I was just left and I bounced. And weirdly, I thought I was going to go and open a tech company. I didn't. I opened a publishing business, right? I'm a really strong copywriter. So I opened this publishing business. 6 months later, I'd learned that selling advertising was not for me, and we pivoted from publishing to e-commerce. So because it was a retail-focused magazine, I started working with Nike, Adidas, Sky, all the big players. And then I thought I cracked it and started spending more time in the pub, and that blew that up, right? So like boozed that business away, really, and I thought I was party boy, and it just didn't work. So lesson learned. Then 2000... maybe 12, 13, I'm now heavily back in that tech space. I'm the number one influencer on Twitter in the insurance technology space. They used to have this Rise social media graph. I was number one, which was cool, but it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know what I was doing with it. And it just basically meant I was hyperactive. I don't even know if active like equals influence, that's what it was. But it was just activity. There was no like.
It does.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that's the secret takeaway from this episode already. Being active means that you are hyper doing it.
And then I was consulting, and then in 2015, I get back into the agency space. I love automation. Someone shows me HubSpot, and I'm like, yeah, I want that. So I was like, 2015. I'm not going to tell you the brand name. It was awful. Or we're like, let's tell it. It was Mode the Web, right? It was supposed to be mobile design data web. It was a really bad branding experience, but it looked like Medada Web, right? That's what it really looked like, Medada Web, right? So everyone's like, what is that for? We're losing, right? So then we had this thing, and I don't buy into HubSpot. That was my big takeaway. I don't buy into it. I want to sell it, but I don't want to know really how I'm using it. And so I went to my first inbound in 2015, I think, or 2016. I think it was 2015. And then, yeah, so it crashes and burns because of that, basically. And then I reopened a new business. No, I took 4 clients from that business into a new business. Story of my life. And we created what you came to know as Bias Digital. It was Paul Sullivan Marketing or something at the time, but I wanted a brand name. I didn't want it to be my name. And so Bias I have a bias. It is a digital bias. And so that's where the name was. And there's a guy in the US that owns the digitalbias.com, and he wouldn't sell it to me. So I had to be Bias Digital. And so that's where that came from. Yep. And then I starting to understand it. I'm still not doing big bits, but I'm doing enough. I maintained stupid gold for that forever. It must be the longest gold partner ever. And then I decided that I wanted to do something bigger with the team. I started thinking about how I'm going to fit into this system. And then I started to look at how we're operating in the world. 2019, I fire everyone before COVID because there were intrinsic problems in the business. Some of them mine, some of them from the team. And I really wanted to go in a different direction. These guys were a little bit more about being content engine. I'm a bit bored of that. I'm not really good at maintaining things I'm good at. That's me, right? If I'm good at it, I'm like, nah, let's go and do this because this is harder and I want that. That's the challenge, right? And I'd already decided I wanted to get into a product because in between this journey, what I've missed out was my e-commerce agency. I got bought out and I became a de facto CTO for an app, so a gaming app on iOS way back that time. So I was like, I want to be in product. I like building. That's what I like. That's why I like automation. Really, the thing I like doing is building. So we do that. I start moving back into that building space, websites, apps, and that's going all right. When the world went to 2019, I fire everyone. I look at my business. I'm like, why is this not working? I'm doing great results there, but not internally. And then that's when I put it all down on paper, and that's when Arise was born, like as an acronym. Arise, this is the methodology. I wanted something that was unique to our agency, that gave us that differentiator. And then we're selling it, we're delivering it. Then I build in this tool. So we're building Lever now. And this tool is optimizing people's use of HubSpot. So I didn't want to go and build anything that was a new CRM. I was like, let me help people do this thing better with less people. So now AI is here. I pitched a book to Wiley last year in July. They came back to me in August and said, yeah, you can write it, but you've got 90 days. And so I had to write the whole thing in 90 days. So I had to put 15 years of experience into a book in 90 days, which have come out on the other side on. The book is now in Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, bookstop.org.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Amazon.
See?
And you know what? It's on. Let me send you the link. There's like a pre-order thing, like 25% off going right now. So I'll make sure you guys get that.
I'll buy full. I mean, I'll pay full price.
No. Listen, take advantage of that. Listen, I'm getting like $1.70 out of the book or something. So I ain't worried about that. It's not like I'm getting loads out of it. But brand equity. Do you know what they told me? Listen, what they told me. They said, Paul, for the first 18 months, you'll plug the out of this book, and you might be lucky to do 10,000 copies a month. On average, our books, after about 18 months, do 10,000 copies a month regularly. Now that's when you're like, why? You asked me, why did you write a book? Well, part of it was to build a brand and get some authenticity, because anyone can self-publish, right? And having Wiley behind you gives you a distinct flavor of that. But ultimately, like, you have to start thinking beyond the business and legacy and all those things. And I'm a legacy guy. I want something out there that shines beyond me. But also, the way that I wrote it leaves me open for book 2. And that was the main thing, right? In Arise in a World of AI, because that will be the follow-up.
Look at you. All right. Well, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I've already learned everything. I'll go write me a book, $1.75 a copy. It's that easy. No, I think that's super interesting, man. Like that, I did not know any of that. It all makes sense. You are the rebel in your own game. And the book writing is really interesting. And Max, I think you got a question, but I would definitely want to double tap into the process of like how, as a marketer, as a technologist, as someone in a particular industry niche ecosystem, being able to take that knowledge that and experience that you have and to put it in a book, that is clearly, there's books everywhere. Clearly that's like a path, but not many people have taken that path to truly get into that written form and work with a publisher. But Max, ask your question.
Dude, I want to know more about the Arise thing.
Yeah.
Right. So wait, did you say it was an acronym or a system?
It's a system,
okay,
which is an acronym, right?
Dude, walk me through it.
So, Arise: assess, research, ideate, strategize, execute.
Ooh, literally writing that down.
Write it down.
Hit me with it.
It's really big when, again, another tangent. That's, my brain's crazy like that as well. But when service agencies productize their offering and brand it, like that's it.
Trademark.
I love that. And I have friends in Shopify agents in the Shopify world that the methodology that they use for their clients, they brand it, they name it, it has like a purpose, everything follows it. That's like the closest you can get to productization when you have a service. But when you brand it and you make it that tangible, people know, oh yeah, like that agency, oh, they said a bunch of stuff. They sent me this SOW with words. They sent me this SOW with words. That Paul Sullivan guy, he's got this Arise. Like, I want the Arise, right? Like, you want the yellow brand toilet paper, or do you want Charmin?
The Rise thing's great. And I think even to build on that, I numberfied it as well. If numberfying is really a name, I numberfied it. 385, right? 385. Remember this. Remember, on this episode today, Paul Sullivan said,
I feel like on an episode of Lost right now with the codes or whatever.
You sold go-to-market with 385, right? It's 3 questions, 8 pillars, 5 steps. That simple.
Man, this guy is formulaic.
I need to
break it down to it.
Yeah, you're right. 3 questions. The 3 questions, no matter how big your organization is, there are only 3 questions you need to have to answer. 1, how do I convey my value to my audience? 2, how do I enable my buyer to buy from me? And last question, and probably the most important, how do I onboard, retain, upsell, and cross-sell this customer once I have it? You can answer those 3 questions. You build a cross-functional, fully aligned, integrated go-to-market strategy. That simple.
It really makes sense why you like HubSpot now, right? Because like if you think about that, like I always talk about how the reason HubSpot's so great is that it was purpose built to serve a very specific strategy, right? And support that strategy. And a lot of times the other big thing that I think is so crucial for partners these days is like niching down into a specific industry and being like, hey, we are HubSpot for X. Like we know the industry, we know the segment, but we also really know HubSpot. And because of those two things, we can optimize HubSpot to be really great for this specific place. So if you're going to be a company that's in a certain industry and you want to put your trust in someone who actually knows your industry, we can connect the two dots there. I think the other thing too that's like super interesting as well is like when you talk about having this like very specific strategy that you guys built, like niching down into a specific strategy that you stand behind, you built, you stand on business, you like, oh, this is exactly how we do it. This is like our product. I think that's also a differentiator. I can also see why you'd want to use HubSpot to be able to deploy that, because when you talk about conveying value, making it easier for people to buy from you, and then onboarding, retain, and to me, it's the version of attract, engage, and delight that you're turning into your own, right? But you also have very specific ways that you functionally execute on it too, which is, I think, is super neat.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I built it with HubSpot in mind, and even in the book, it literally says, "This book is about building go-to-market on HubSpot. You might be able to do this on Salesforce, but it's going to be longer, convoluted, because they bought it out of everything. And so it's really not integrated at all. Whereas one code base, 3 hubs, good to go."
Yeah.
That's major. I can't even applaud that enough, because again, the productization, it's sticky. People can remember it. It's a differentiator because you're doing it. You could be doing the same thing that everybody's doing. But when you put a brand on it and when you put a book behind it, published author of this methodology, I believe in it so much. I sat myself in a room for 3 months and wrote it and pitched it to somebody. Yeah. The message is in the medium right there. When you read between the lines of how much you've invested in Arise GTM, like, why would you not be behind it? Why would you not want to put that into your business? So I applaud you for that. As
Do you know what, Dax? And sorry, Max, just to echo this, right? When I spoke to Wiley, right? So this is what happens. I pitch it. I'm nervous, right? Of course I'm nervous. This is a big deal. One pitch, one book deal, right? That's the rules. I'm on holiday. I've taken myself off to Spain. I'm in Barcelona, sunning myself up. I'm like, why ain't these guys come back to me yet? I'm not going to get this book deal. It's probably about 5-6 weeks. I'm going up to my room. I look at my phone, contract offer, Wiley. I'm like, oh. I'm like, I didn't read that email in full for 4 days. I opened it. I saw something. I saw some stuff. And I phoned everyone and said, I got the deal.
Positive.
And then I couldn't read it for 4 days. And then when I did, I was like, oh my God. No, they emailed me, Paul, have you read this contract yet? Are you ready to sign? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I get on the call with them. Know what they said? Paul, we are going to write this book with you. That's what they said to me, right? We did Brian and Darmish's book. We did Salesforce's book. We did Snowflake's book. We know this industry. You're going to write this book with us. That was it.
Hey.
That was it.
There you go.
So the alignment. So they had previous, like, tertiary experience with. Obviously, they've done a lot of books over the years and years. Pretty name brand, but they've done a ton of years. But they understood it, and that's why they aligned.
Yeah, they were like.
I think this is going to be super important for people to understand. So you have an idea, you want to write a book. A couple questions. One is, why did you pick Wiley? And how did you get a hold of them?
Okay, so if you go onto Wiley, if you look at my bookshelf, it's row 1 is sales, row 2 and 3 are product, a couple of marketing books, but all product and product methodologies. And then the last row is all philosophy, right? That's literally how my bookcase shows up. 80% of those books are Wiley. So like now, when I go home and I see that, I'm actually like, I wanted to see my book amongst Wiley, Design Thinking, Strategizer, all of those books, they're all published by Wiley, right? You got Kagan Press, you got a couple of other publishers, don't get me wrong, no disrespect to any of them. Actually, my dad's best friend's daughter works at Penguin, and they're the largest publisher in front of Wiley. So it's them and then Wiley, right? But it's almost like wanting to build a game and it's going to be Sega. It's like one of those kind of things where it's, this is me, and I want them to do it because this is me. So yeah, that was why I was glad it was Wiley. You go online, they have a very clear process. You don't have to write your whole book. Like, You just need to give them a flavor. So I wrote
Give him a taste.
first 2 or 3 chapters, and then I submitted it. It was 1, 2 or 3, and like the acknowledgements, and yeah, they were in. So I tell you, it's a weird thing, right? Because everyone's, well, you're not famous. Why have you written a book? Why have you done this? And why did they publish you? You're not famous,
What?
right? And the truth is
What
this.
does that have to do with?
I am now.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
but you know what the truth is? Everyone in the world makes you feel like you can't do something unless you're more famous. You've got a bigger reach. You've got more followers. I stayed in my lane. I'm getting on with it. And that's how I succeeded, because I just said, why do I need all this? I don't need the fame to make me feel like I know something. I'm telling you I know something. So whether you believe me or not, it doesn't matter. Someone said, this guy's got something. We're going to publish that book. And this is the industry we know. And we're saying we believe this will be a success. That's the best success, not LinkedIn telling me, hey, Paul, you've done really well.
Yeah, and then you
Man,
putting
you better
something out
chop
there and
that
just being
up.
like, oh, it must be right because Paul wrote it. That's different. Hey, I can't glaze over something I heard you say earlier. It sounded like you were building a little appy app for HubSpot. Yeah, and you kind of like, you just so gingerly grazed over that, and we built some apps.
You definitely built some apps.
We built a couple.
Homage to the
we built
masters,
a couple apps.
right?
So we love hearing, because there's the whole thing. Guess what? We want other people to do it too, because we got to grow this ecosystem. We want everyone to come play in the pool with us.
The party is not a party list.
And don't get me wrong, we have some friends in the pool. Yeah. There's people in the pool, but there's room in the pool. It's a big pool.
I know.
Right? We're having a kid's birthday party in a potentially Olympic-sized swimming pool, right? Like we need to have a swim meet over here. You. Right? But
tell you,
what you got cooking up?
Happily, and how I learned about lambdas and all this stuff from my man Dax after his chat at Inbound that year. I was like, I'm so willing to build something. And he's just got up there, and your guys are up there just chatting about it and how they do it and what you learn and what you got to do and shared resources and all this stuff. And I'm like, on top of the ice creams that you were selling as well, Dax, right?
I'm glad you did, because I still don't know what lambdas are. I think there's some kind of magical llama somewhere that handles code in some weird way. But dude, tell us what you're building, bro.
What are you building, man?
I'm digitizing this, right? So I'm like, if I'm telling you this is comprehensive go-to-market and we've got AI, I'm building that as a tech platform completely designed to plug into your HubSpot, utilize all of HubSpot's native features, optimize the shit out of this by segment, tell you what's working, what's not, how it was working and why it was working, what you need to do more of, what you need to do less of. And I've got some agreements in place with SEMrush, with Bombora, with add clarity. Yes, I am going to show you. If I can't, I'm going to show you how. If you haven't yet done it, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like when you connect a lever. What lever do I pull? Everyone knows that language. What lever do I pull? I don't even know what lever I got to pull, but I got to do something, right? So lever, US, UK, it's one of those things. But every month, without fail, it analyzes your performance and gives you a new set of levers to pull. You can choose to or not. We give you an impact score. We give you an effort score. The AI is going to take care of some of that stuff. But ultimately, what happens is we connect to your HubSpot. We're solving the marketing pain first. We will optimize. We will show you what's worked, what hasn't, and how to then just focus on the segments that you're trying to find within that data of yours. And then we show you all of those tasks, those levers. And then the levers, when you connect them, levers have tasks. Tasks get pushed, tickets. No, levers have tickets, tickets have tasks. They get pushed back into HubSpot, sit in a nice little pipeline in there. And then we can track how fast your team are moving to close these things, how fast the AI is helping you. And by keeping that native to HubSpot, so like that, all that analysis and all that in there, we're leveraging that so it feels like you can work inside HubSpot, even though you have this app that's the brain. So we're doing that.
You're plugging a GTM brain into the big open, beautiful canvas that is a HubSpot account.
And do you use this I'm assuming you do services and consulting, and do you use this as, hey, I'm going to tell you what you need to do. I'm going to give you the cockpit. And I'm also, if you want, I'm going to put a pilot in there with you, because you got to practice what you preach. You got to implement what you're doing. Is that kind of how you're looking to roll this out?
I think this is definitely something I want to work with other partners on. I feel like look, there's so much business in the world. we all could do better by doing better for our customers. Like, that's the truth, right? And also, if you can deliver better results strategically and tactically and get paid for it whilst you're selling it, you're getting better at your job, you're delivering better results, you're getting some money back from it. It's a win-win across the ecosystem. But also, you're not necessarily selling someone an experience that they're not already experiencing. Yes, there's an interface, but ultimately the execution sits inside your portal, which you already have. So it just feels like I'm just cracking on, but I'm cracking on better. And I don't need a big team because I've got this AI thing that's just like saying, this is what's going on, because we're analyzing your first party data. And this is where you win with AI. First party data, or people like Dax and Max and myself, because we've got tenure. And so we know how we want to mold that AI to give us our answers. That's why I'm not interested in your vanilla. I'm just going to stick something into ChatGPT that every other person's doing, because that's not giving you nothing. It's the first party data and learnings, right? I could do you a quick screen share and I could show you what it looks like back end inside HubSpot.
I'm here for you, man. If you're going to show me something, then plug it, because this is why this is important. We at Hapily, we have a triumvirate that we want to serve. We want to serve HubSpotters, we want to serve HubSpot partners, and we want to serve end users. We want to make that Triforce powerful. You tapping into partners and like making partners better, that is a big mission that you should embark on and start with, because it's all about one to many, right? You're gonna go after one person, or if you're gonna go to one partner that has many clients that they could even accelerate with. So I think that's the best way to show that. But if you want to show something, pull it up. Let it be known.
Let me preface it this way, right? What I'm doing is taking strategy off of Google Drive or OneDrive and I'm putting it in HubSpot, right? This is why. I believe within 18 months, we'll be talking to AI. We'll be having a conversation with it. That's how fast I think that we're going to move. And if we don't move there in 18, maybe 24, right? It's not going to be far away from that. But yeah, of course, right?
No, bro, I watch my kids do it with 01 every single night. I'm already talking to it. 18 months, I can't even imagine. It's probably going to be giving me a massage or something.
Right? So I said, if you really want to get better at go-to-market strategy, you need to be able to have AI see what you've been doing previously, right? So how do you think about GTM? How do you apply GTM, and what results are you getting from the way that you apply it? They're three things you can train a model on, right? And then the model can look at your data and say, this is what you need to do in order to shift. That's my whole plan, right? So back end of this, I'm just going to, yeah, I'm going to share this, right? Because this is actually, why not share the real deal, right? Real deal means in terms of, I am going to share what I've been doing for myself. So I want to share my screen. Which one is this, right? So share. Okay. Right, I can't see you anymore, so I'm just going to be driving. The way I've built it is...
I'm going to be the AI annotator. We're actually looking for those listeners. We're looking at an Arise GTM. Seemingly, it's loading. His internet is bogus. So we're actually looking at a spinning wheel. This looks like an Arise
Riverside GTM. Is absolutely demolishing his bandwidth.
Yeah, we're looking at a Rise GTM object, custom object.
Yeah, so
it's in HubSpot. Let's go.
Right, so we've got custom,
I'm already hyped. Let's go.
We've got custom object, right? So we've got the GTM object, we've got a battle card object, we've got a competitive intelligence object, and we've got a customer intelligence object. There are 4 objects that are fueled, right? I'm just going to look at the first one because they all integrate. So we've got what we did. We used the methodology Arise, and what we figured out is 60% of our business is about go-to-market acceleration, 20% is about RevOps, and the other 20% is at the enterprise split across ABM, or when SaaS products or fintech products spin out a new startup, which really puts them back in this bucket. But that's where our business is. It's clear as day, right? So we've got the Arise version is actually the strategic record. I've got my book, which you guys can know. I've got my course, which we're launching with Columbia Business University, and then we've got my event. So that's it. So if we look at what the record looks like.
So these are motions that you have for your...
They're individual strategies within my whole entire go-to-market for 2025.
Got it. So your strategy motion.
Yeah, and so we've got the business case. So this is AI, right? AI is analyzing my data, and now it's going to create me this record, which is it's going to create a business case. It's going to tell me who I'm going off after, what the key components are. There's some bits it messed out, but the size of the available market to me and who's in it. Then it runs a SWOT analysis and a Porter's 5 Forces analysis. We work on what the revenue goal should be based on the size of our team and what we've achieved in the sales last year. And it says in this particular motion, we typically attract startups between 20 and 200 employees in SaaS fintech. And on the outside, there's get some management consultancies in there. And we want another 45 or 65 clients this year, right? Tells you about what your primary objective is, your secondary objective, which should all ladder up into primary objectives, the personas. This isn't all of our personas, but our customer intelligence. And I'll show you this why I don't like HubSpot's ones. What's important about this product, features and benefits to these personas. And then it tells you, like on a persona level, what the pain point is for this product in founders, what the value is, what the messaging should look like, and what the use case is. I hate this UX at the minute, but we're working on it. But it serves a purpose right now. All of the personas
100%.
have all of their straights. It aligns the marketing and sales strategy. So based on your accelerator and the people you're selling to, not only does it give me an SQL and a scoring system, so I get a lead scoring system for it, it tells me,
man, you got your lead scoring system built for this particular.
Yeah, for this particular thingy, but let's make sure we're maxing out HubSpot. On the right-hand side, you can see why it's important, who's it important to and why, and what's the best approach based on what you know about the order. So there's a rationale, the rationale for this order of approach. Start with the founders, then the CMO, then the VP of sales, then any growth managers, then head of ops. And that comes in, and you can still see what like.
Yeah, that's your spread, and that's your organization infiltration strategy.
Yeah. What have we got? We've got pricing strategies tiered, there's custom, and there's tiered single, right? And there's an interesting thing around that. And then when you look at the campaign tracking, it aligns market and sales again. So Q1, we want a new year. Where is this? Here, Q1 is this. It's a new year, new strategy, right? And then the kickstart in sales. So as you see, as it goes through, then there's Q2, and this is what you should be doing in Q2, and then this is what the sales strategy should look like. Rather than when companies, they're like, oh, sales is over there doing what it's doing, and you're marketing these 4 quarters, right? It can't work like that. Then any external resources that you've got, the KPIs, they're all hyperlinked, by the way. You can just click on that, and then the underlying evidence is there for you to see. KPIs, all for this. So what we're measuring, why and how. So that gets dropped in. And then that's just like your summary. And then I'm just going to quickly, you've got your product marketing piece. So your value prop. This is like the human checklist that we built in. So because there's AI doing this, you want to make sure that someone is actually double checking that this is actually any good. Positioning framework, and it's got a quarterly positioning reminder. So you're going back and making sure that the quarterly positioning you've adopted is actually working. There's a messaging framework built in, and then we've got a storytelling framework built in as well. So all of this is all pretty.
This is ridiculous, Paul. Will you quit?
This is the wildest custom object I've ever seen.
I'm like,
I thought my event objects were cool. Now I'm like, oh, that's kind of soft.
And then we've got like this segment hypothesis piece. So it's looking at what I've sold before, and it's saying, listen, in this B2B SaaS space, we expect you to convert about 8% on an average of 20K, because it's just the onboarding piece, against 85% retention. So we're looking at maybe 15% churn. So it's actually giving you some guidance based on historic performance, what this is going to look like as well. So there's quite a lot of activity like going on, but I don't want to take up all my time doing that. I just wanted to give you like just some of the strategic. And then if you've got a record, so imagine you're a tech company, you might be like Atlassian, a suite of products, or you could be one product, but you've got a Middle East, North Africa, you've got an Americas, and you've got a European strategy, right? And so you've got all that stuff. The sales and marketing ties back into that. And then your AI is going through and analyzing that and looking at your performance, or our AI is anyway, and then saying, hey, based on this strategy, this segment really reports well. This is your best segment, then the third, then the second. This is what's working. Headlines like this, body copy like that. Write more of this, forget that. Do you know what I mean? And then it's going to say through Bombora, hey, 65% of your pipeline hasn't been in market for the last quarter or two. Do you think you've got a good pipeline, or do you want to substitute in these businesses that match your ICP and are showing the indicators that they're in market right now?
I can tell why you wrote a book. What are you doing, man? You're not supposed to use HubSpot, because what you've done is you've basically built an educational guidance, and you must steal the guidance and guardrails. You've made the guidance and guardrails for go-to-market strategy that gets implanted and then left. Yeah, I'm not doing that. What's cool is that when you start to add in the UI extensions and turn that really in, as UI extensions evolve, and turning that really into something interactive and being able to put in your single object reports. So the Max throwing in the single object reports there that go off of you have a churn rate. So you want to see, here's your 85% like retention, here's your churn. You can have the report like right next to it with the churn and see how you're doing. And so if you plop that into somebody, what do you talk about organization? And when organizations have challenges of what are we doing? Oh, we're doing everything. Well, not great. Action is good, but is it aligned? Are you measuring? Why are you doing this thing, that thing, and the third thing? Like, why? Maybe you should just do the one thing. Maybe you should do a bunch of things, but what are you measuring for? Against, especially not measuring from, well, the industry says. Measure from, well, here's all the stuff we blew it at, and here's why. I get it. That is, you have arisen the CRM.
Yeah, I think my favorite piece, Max. Go on, Max, you finish because you look like you're going to say something, and then I'll come back.
No, it's just the thought HubSpot has arisen is hilarious. it's just a fun thing. I mean, I don't want to make. I think everyone talks a lot about AI these days, but you're clearly building a very strong, backed by a proven strategy AI brain that understands HubSpot, and you've built this whole product around it. I want to get your take on how you feel the rise of Breeze has been going inside of HubSpot, and your kind of thoughts on that. Because I feel like it's been, you're seeing Breeze. My thing. I like that they finally took all of the tools and they gave it an identity. Yeah. I do that because it feels cohesive. It feels like a thing. It feels like a product now. It's something we can call it. Because I remember when I was an SE at HubSpot, and this was really when the AI stuff was really starting to take off, and I would talk to prospects and they would just ask the empty, vapid, pointless question of, can you tell me about your AI features? I don't know. And my answer was, it's like, well, it's everywhere, peppered into a bunch of different tools. But now I wish I was there and I could say, it's called Breeze and it does a lot of stuff and it's great and it, whatever. I don't exactly know what my talk track would be today, but Breeze came onto the scene last inbound. I feel like when me and Kyle do the Monday morning show, we're listing off 7 new freaking AI features that are coming into the tool, and you're seeing it sprout up all over the place. What's been your kind of take on what you've seen so far and where it's going? And I have my thoughts on what I'd like to see eventually, but I'm curious to hear yours, given that you're building an AI product on HubSpot, right?
Ultimately, I'd like them to buy me out and just install what I'm building with everyone. That's like Nirvana.
Yep.
But I think now I'm not like overly pressed. I still have a legacy Clearbit account, right? That I get every Friday. Tells me, look who's been on your website, right? So, and my legacy account for free has 500 credits, right? So I've got a lot of play about in there for that. Because what do I think? If I'm honest, I think they shot themselves. They shot themselves in the foot with the company thing. I think that's a stinky move. And so, boo-ha, Stuart Balcombe for your free little app, right? That's the little one for me.
And then they brought it back, right? Didn't they bring back, you can do 3 free company names now? It at least does the company name thing. Or maybe I'm crazy.
Bad, right? Because they bought Clearbit, which gave you contact data. And everyone was saying, if you put contact data inside HubSpot, it's a cool thing. So why not just leave the companies alone and then say, hey, do you want to buy the contact data? Because that we can sell data. You sell that day in, day out. People would just buy it, right?
And it's also, too, just to double click on the company thing, getting the name of a company is not f***ing enrichment. No. Right? If you know the domain, you probably know the name of the company. And like all you're doing is you got to type in another field, all right? Unless you pay us X amount to do it. And it's just that never made sense to me, because think about how out of the box, clean and easy to use HubSpot always felt, just because you give it a domain and the company shows up and the people with the email addresses get synced. And you're like, dude, it feels clean. It wasn't because you were going into HubSpot Insights and being like, oh, I know how many employees they have and how much revenue they get. That really helps you with much, right? It was like, dude, it's just someone filled out one of my forms and magically the name of their company showed up and it was formatted nicely. And I'm like, cool, I have a representation of this company. And then it's, we take that away. All of a sudden, things start to feel dirtier and shittier inside of HubSpot. And like just by that one change, like they could have totally just been like, The name stays, but maybe the address and the phone number and the financial stuff doesn't show up in that. And I'm like, dude, I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that. It's just having the data feel dirtier because something as simple as that nicely formatted name doesn't come through. And just seeing like a URL as a representation for a company record, it's overnight you made it feel so much
for something that's going up market.
You know, really, and so I'm glad they backtracked on that.
Yeah, when you bring it up, like when I first started using HubSpot, I always remembered using it as in I had to use it. I was like, oh, there's company information. Oh, cool. It was just like a part of, like you walk into the restaurant and it's like when you walk into a restaurant and there's no sign that says, please wait to be seated or seat yourself. And you're like, what do I do? Excuse me. I need direction right now. I equate that to when I first started using it, and I would, like, whatever a company would come in, because Apkimus would come in and it would be this dude's like face. I would be like, how did they get that? But it would have all the information, and I would see all the companies and all the information. I just thought that was like, oh, that's cool. I always noticed it. But like you said, Max, now if you put in a company, you just get dash.
You know? Yeah. Like if you think about it, they doubled the work that it took to create a company record, because you got to do, you got to have the domain, right? Unique identifier, whatever. But then you also got to manually type in the company. And it's, but it's only one field. It's double the work. You push that across every other company like you're bringing in there or whatever, unless you're doing imports or whatever it may be. Or it's, I got people filling out my forms and now I got to go clean up records and go, okay, what's this company? Okay, look at the domain. Okay, go figure out what the name is. Oh, then come back. Oh, then manually type it in.
What this reminds me of?
It just doesn't.
This reminds me of, listen, hey, we've invested a lot of money in this company. Can we get the accountants to find out where we can make money? Oh, you know what? This ABM strategy is making sense now. And you need all of these company identifiers, how much they earn, how much headcount they've got. Why don't we sell that? Because everyone's going to need to buy it because they're going to need to build their strategy. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah. I also, can I be honest? I get really scared of HubSpot losing its identity of what made it so great. Inbound is what made it so great. The active inbound. And to me, the thing that makes inbound is creating educational, valuable content for people, right? And I know there isn't a single person in the world that's going to tell me that is not helpful today. It absolutely is. Anyone who thinks that inbound was just, you build an ebook and you put it behind a landing page and you capture leads and you send them to sales, never knew what inbound was.
Yeah, that's fair.
And what I get really scared of is this narrative being formed that like inbound's not the way. And it's all about enrichment and AI and all this stuff. When, you know what, the fact of the matter is, you can enrich every record in the world. You can have the craziest, coolest friggin' AI you want. But if you're not making content that people are actually looking for, you're still going to keep losing. And it's sure, maybe you can like lean on the AI to create some of that. But the more people that do that, the more people that just create junk. And we're going to have dead internet theory or whatever in X amount of years. And so it's just funny. And it's still funny to me, too, that like people will write content about, oh, inbound's dead. And they're doing it by writing content and creating content. And they're saying inbound's dead. And it's, come on. You're doing inbound to say inbound's dead. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I went on a rant, but
I'm here for that. I'm here for it.
To all this new
it sounded
stuff.
like a therapy session.
Yeah. I have to get it out sometimes.
You're not wrong, dude. Well, Paul, this has been, I'm geeked. I really been, you've enlightened me. You've arisen my interest in kind of this product that you're building. Obviously, you got a sounding board whenever you need it.
He's gone to your market.
We're finishing off like the V2 UX stuff, and I've got a prototype in Figma. I will definitely reach out for you next week and walk you through it, because I think the problem we're solving is a really key one. It's you need to solve something first. It's definitely the content strategy piece. So. So yeah, I've always thought well of Hapily as a team, of you as a person. Look up to you guys, like streaming ahead there, lighting the way for us, pathfinding. So for me, I love the relationship.
Appreciate the love, man.
Yeah, here's where I want to close it. Anytime that we're talking to someone who's in the beginning of bringing an app to the HubSpot app marketplace, what's the biggest thing you've learned, or what's the biggest thing that's surprised you getting into it, and what's that best advice you can pass on to the next person thinking like, oh, I might build an app on HubSpot. What's that like?
Just do it. Just do it. Like, you can spend so much time deliberating,
just do it.
but just get the first product. I've got this mighty beast in my head, but then I had to go, do you know what? I ain't building that right now, but you know what? I'm building this thing, and this bit of it also solves a problem, right? So,
yeah, start somewhere.
That's how we did it, man. So we always like to end these with a couple questions that you weren't expecting. All right, Paul. What's the? I'm going to say. I always ask, what's your favorite country you've ever traveled to? What's the worst country you've ever traveled?
America's always been my favorite country. Like, my wife's American. I've always had a penchant for America.
Not the worst.
No, ultimately, what's the worst country? Worst country? I think holidaying at home. I love England. I think London's the best city in the world, right? But holidaying at home, it's just not exciting. I don't think you expand your horizon by holidaying at home to 1,800 million US American residents that never managed to leave the borders. I'm just saying.
That's so funny. So, second question, Mr. Sullivan, is what was your favorite toy?
You know what my favorite toy was? It was either my Tonka truck, which I used to love. I had this yellow tipper Tonka truck. I had a Dukes of Hazzard Scale Electric set, which was brilliant because you used to go around and jump the bridge. And then my final one was I had a He-Man set, and I had Skeletor's castle, and I had He-Man's castle. So as a kid, they were like my favorite toy.
Man, I'm going to have to ask what your favorite cartoon is then.
Favorite cartoon. That's a hard one. It's probably going to be something old, and it's either going to be like Wile E. Coyote.
Powerpuff Girls.
It's going to be one of those. And then I think Akira. If I was going to do manga, it would probably be like Akira, because that was like a bit iconic.
I've seen so many people in the UK were like anime fanatics. I did not know that. I just don't know anything about
My
anime,
brother was into it. I was like into Ulysses, Battlestar Galactica, like all these kind of space sci-fi things. That's my Star Wars. I had so much Star Wars. It was a ridiculous thing.
Man,
I just watched a lot of Beetleborgs. I don't know if you guys caught Beetleborgs, dude. Friggin' Wish Doctor Rangers.
I'm 47, right? I'm 47. I'm older than you guys. I'm old, right? So there's probably like a disparity there.
Maybe I'm 4D, 4-0, but still.
I'm 36. I'm just a little baby.
Yeah, you little child. Well, dude, Paul, it's a pleasure. Baby. You already know, Paul. This has been awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Where can we find you? Where can people listening get that book?
Yeah.
I want to get that plug.
Yeah. So the book, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Waterstones, Bookshop.org, Books A Million, like any of the big major retailers, it's on there. It's currently on special offer until March 17th, 22 to 25% off any one of those platforms. You can find me at Arise GTM. You can find me hanging out at Inbound somewhere, especially in San Francisco this year. And what else? You got to be lucky to get my phone number. So let's have that.
There it is. Well, we're not going to put that out there, but Arise GTM, love what you're building, man. Love what you're doing. Always love the energy. So keep it real, and we appreciate you having us.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, Dax.
Thanks, Paul.